Well, guys, it's the holiday season, and I figured what a better way to celebrate than with a killer Santa and a few ho-ho-hos. It's Silent Night, Deadly Night on Drew Reviews. So the plot focuses around a young man named Billy, and we first see him when he's about 5 years old with his parents. They've just visited his grandpa, who has completely freaked him out about Santa Claus and being naughty. And later on, they meet this person this demented Santa Claus ends up shooting his dad and raping and killing his mom, and is looking for him out in the woods. Luckily, he doesn't find him. And so we fast forward about 3 years later, and young Billy and his brother are in this Catholic orphanage. Billy's having trouble adjusting and fitting into this life, and he keeps having run-ins with the Mother Superior. At one point, she tries to put him on Santa's lap, and it's funny as he decks Santa completely off of his chair. So she whips him with a belt, and every time she whips him, she tells him naughty, or she tells him, you're being punished. A few scenes later, Billy, about the same age, walks in on these two teenage kids at this orphanage, doing what teenage kids do. And he's watching them through this peephole, and the Mother Superior catches him. She goes in and lashes the kids, and then takes him and ties him to this bed, and keeps telling him how naughty he is. The seeds are really being planted here that naughty behavior deserves punishment. And that is really a prominent point in this movie later on. So years go by, and Billy's doing well. One of the nuns gets him a job at this toy store at Mr. Sims's place, and he's getting in well with Mr. Sims. He's got a girl there that he kind of likes. There is one supervisor there by the name of Andy this kind of a douche nugget that he has to deal with, but everything for the most part's going fine until Christmas time. So they need a Santa for the store, and Mr. Sims decides it's not going to be him. So Billy ends up getting that duty, and of course you can imagine what this does to a kid who saw his parents murdered by a Santa and has been told he's been naughty his entire life. And so he gets these kids on his lap, and it's kind of funny and awkward at the same time. But somehow he manages to get through all that, and they close for the night, and they're getting ready to have a party. And so he's getting ready to hang out with the girl that he likes, and this jerk, this Andy, has her in the back storeroom. And so everybody's getting drunk out front. Mr. Sims, who, it's hilarious, I don't know if he actually was drunk on the set, but he had me convinced. He plays a great drunk guy, this actor. Back into the storeroom to go see the girl that he likes, and she's in the middle of being taken advantage of by this Andy, which causes Billy to snap, and from there on the movie just takes off. He murders everyone in the store. Mr. Sims gets it with a hammer in the head. A couple years after Halloween 2 did it, but this movie, in my opinion, did it better, as there's a big reveal afterwards that, with the hammer sticking in his head. He kills Andy with Christmas lights. There's a box cutter death in there. It kind of reminds me, the way it's shot and the whole season and everything, of Gremlins in a way. How it's got this Christmas vibe, but it's pretty creepy. And from that point in the movie, Billy just flips out and goes on a killing spree. There's this great scene in the movie where these kids are getting ready to go sledding, and these bullies steal their sleds. And the first kid goes down this big hill, and the other kid's just this real jerk. And I told my wife, I'm like, wouldn't it be a great visual if he comes down that hill without his head? Because you're hearing bells and everything in the distance, you know that Billy's there. And so sure enough, here he comes without his head. And I swear I've never seen this movie until the other night. And it was just a great reveal. Then comes what's probably the greatest death scene in the entire movie. There's this couple. Linnea Quigley is one of them, who you might know from a little movie called Reanimator. And they're making love on this pool table, and she keeps hearing things. And so she gets up and leaves, and she's just wearing a pair of jeans. She's completely topless. And Billy comes in, of course, in a Santa outfit, and picks her up and impales her on this deer that's mounted on the wall. It's the way it's done, the way it goes through her, and the way he just leaves her there like a piece of pornographic wall art is really interesting. It's very unique. I really like that kill, and I'm surprised, Friday the 13th or Halloween or one of those big slasher movies didn't try to rip that off. So near the end, there's an APB that this killer Santa's out on the loose. And there's this kind of comical scene where this innocent Santa gets it going to the orphanage because they all figure that's where Billy's going, and he does. It all ends up back at the orphanage, and I won't spoil the end of it for you other than his little brother's there, and at the end of the movie he's staring at the axe. And I have not seen the sequel, so I'm just assuming that the little brother takes over, and if so, I can't wait to see the second movie. So there was quite a few things I liked about this movie. The kills were great. You know, all the kills in the toy store, the sled death, the impalement up on the deer of Linnea Quigley's character. Those were all great. I enjoyed those. I liked the creepy song that was played during the credits and at various points throughout the movie. That was really good. Some of the acting was really good as well. Like I said, Mr. Sims, he was a very believable character. Everybody else in the movie, including Billy, were just okay. I mean, nothing too much to write home about, but nothing exceptionally bad either. The main nun, the Mother Superior, she was very good. I can't remember her name. And then the Sister Margaret, I believe is her name. She was very good as well, the more sympathetic nun. But there were some things I didn't like about the movie. It seemed like the stuff in the orphanage near the beginning of the movie kind of drug on for a little bit, which is fine in a way because this movie here is an example of how you take an innocent person and you slowly turn them into a killer, unlike Halloween Ends, which came out this year, which they just took and shoehorned into this Halloween story and was just god-awful. This movie did that the right way. However, I do feel like they kind of lingered on the orphanage stuff a little too long and didn't get to the fun stuff quite as quickly as they should have. And this next part, a lot of horror hounds are going to be like, oh, whatever, dude. But I personally felt like there was a little bit too much gratuitous nudity in this film. I can understand having, you know, a topless scene when his mother's killed. You kind of need that for him being so traumatized. I can see it for the Linnea Quigley scene because that kill is just amazing. And I think, you know, if done any other way, it would have been less impactful. But there's like two other topless scenes, and after a while, they just kind of lose their impact. There's boobies, you know. It's kind of like, I relate it to like when you see like an action movie or a horror movie, and they just throwing F-bombs, and after a while, that word seems to lose its impact. To me, that's kind of what happened here. It's just like, yeah, okay, whatever, you know. But this movie's kind of historical in a way because it came out the same weekend as the original Nightmare on Elm Street and actually beat it by like $160,000 at the box office, if you can believe that or not. However, there was an outrage by like parents groups, and they were picketing outside of theaters because, you know, you've got this killer Santa. And it's kind of hard for me to believe because, like, if you had an old man like I had, I swear that's where I get my dark sense of humor from. He would have laughed at this. So, yeah, this is during the time of the PMRC and everything, and just, you know what, screw you guys. Where would I rank Silent Night, Deadly Night? I don't think it's quite 6.5, because 6.5 is where I'm like, that's a pretty good movie. I'm definitely going to watch this, you know, several times in the future. But it's better than a 6. I don't think it's quite 6. I'll go 6.1 for Silent Night, Deadly Night. It was a good watch. If you've not seen it, I'd recommend it. If you're not a horror fan, probably not. But if you are, it's a good time. I do think it probably takes itself a little too seriously. I could have had probably a little more lightheartedness in it. I like humor in my horror movies. That might have rated it 6.5, maybe even a little higher. So I hope you guys out there have a good holiday. Be sure and don't help any Santas who appear to be stranded by the side of the road. You just don't know what's going to happen. Be sure to like and subscribe. This is Andrew. We'll see you down the line.